What up? It's Dramos, and this is the recap. If you're new here, I'll give you a quick little rundown of what it is that we do here. So if you've been following us on socials, you've probably seen that our girl B. Marie has been doing a daily IG live talk show called LATV Mornings. And each day she's breaking down just the biggest headlines. And then each week on Saturdays, I'll sit here and kind of deep dive into some of the stories that she covered. I'll bring on a different guest and they'll kind of give us their feedback, their opinion, and we'll kind of have a little bit of a back and forth. Now, before we get into this week's guest, I did want to talk about one of the biggest headlines of this last week. Now, of course, everybody's talking about Breonna Taylor and rightfully so. So this last week, we finally learned the fate of the police officers who murdered her. Attorney General Daniel Cameron had a press conference and basically announced that 2 of the 3 cops who were involved in her murder would walk away without any charges. Now, one of the cops, Detective Brett Hankinson, he was charged with wanton endangerment, which basically stems from some of the bullets that he fired, actually going through a wall and ending up in the apartment of one of Breonna's neighbors. Now, this whole story is so egregious, and I've really had to dive into the facts and the details of the case. And on one hand, I really do have to sort of shame our mainstream media for not providing more facts, because it shouldn't be this hard to be able to read about exactly what happened here. And also there's probably some sort of misinformation that's being sent out there from the local government down there. But I think the bigger picture out there, this whole thing is so much larger than just the cops involved in this shooting. It also goes into the detective work that happened that even led up to this. You know, it was sloppy police work to begin with that named Breonna Taylor a person of interest, and not only just a person of interest in this case, somebody who was so dangerous that they felt it was necessary to conduct a no-knock warrant in the middle of the night. And then we also have to place blame on the judge who signed off on that warrant. You know, the judge is supposed to fact check all this stuff, supposed to double check the things that are being presented to her in this case. And she signed off thinking that, yes, this situation was dangerous enough for a no-knock warrant. So what happens? The police come in, they kick in a door, and somebody thinks that their apartment is being broken into, and they react accordingly. And one of the other biggest things that I found so egregious about this story is just the lack of humanity that was on display. Breonna Taylor laid shot in her apartment for 20 minutes before receiving any medical attention. Somebody needs to be held responsible for that. You know, the lack of accountability in this whole case is what's so egregious about it. And it's bigger, like I said, than just the police officers. You know, the reality is this situation was truly caused by just awful policies and a terrible, terrible system that allows for far too much room for error and misinformation. I mean, we really just need an overhaul of the system. And even just, a lot of people are obviously upset that the police weren't charged, but it's so much bigger than just them. To me, even them being charged would just be a Band-Aid on such a much bigger wound. And obviously, the changes that we want to see aren't going to happen overnight. But it is important that we take advantage of this moment right now where there is this attention on this issue. You know, there is this awareness to something being wrong with our system. And we have to use this time to put people in positions of power that actually give a damn about us. And that means by voting. You know, there was another big headline this last week as Ruth Bader Ginsburg was laid to rest, that Donald Trump was booed at her funeral, and people were also chanting, "Vote him out." Now, the chanting and all that stuff is great, but it means nothing if there aren't actions following up that chanting. Those words can't just be lip service. You know, come November, all of us, we have to put our money where our mouth is and get out there and vote and put these people that we hope will enact that change. And of course, one person isn't going to, change the world overnight, but it's a start to hopefully, fixing and repairing to this terrible, terrible system that we keep finding ourselves in. Now, I know that that's a super heavy way to start the show, but it needs to be spoken about. It needs to be talked about. Now, hopefully, we'll be able to lighten things up a little bit with my next guest. He's going to help me break down some of the week's bigger stories. So coming in today is going to be comedian. He's a DJ, a multimedia personality. Cipha Sounds. What's good, my dude?
Man, thank you so much. And you know what? I really appreciate you putting comedian first.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Because my DJ life, which was a grand life, it was a beautiful life that I had for many years. But my number one career right now is comedy, and people always say DJ first, so I appreciate that.
Of course, I actually wanted to get your point of view because you've obviously been a DJ for a minute. You've been a radio personality, a legendary radio personality. But in those circumstances, it's a surprise if you're the funny guy, right? But now you're expected to be the funny guy. So talk about the pressure that comes with being a comedian, having that title.
Well, it's only pressure if you're not prepared.
Okay.
So being funny and being a comedian is not the same thing. I know all your boys, you hanging out, you on a road trip, you going to Atlantic City, you hanging out in the spot. Everybody could be funny.
Right.
But that doesn't make you a comedian. And a lot of people who think they're funny try to be comedians, and it's not. You gotta put the time into the prep work.
Yeah.
You know?
I love that. So
my alarm went off that I have to do a show with you.
We have to do a show. I like it. All right, so let's break down a few stories from this last week that were pretty popular. I want to start in the Bronx. I know you're a Bronx dude yourself. So let's talk about, do you see Bad Bunny rolling around the Bronx and Washington Heights and Harlem on a truck performing?
I did see that, and it's normally in normal times we would be like, what is he doing?
Right.
Why is he rolling around thinking he's in the West Indian Day Parade in September? Well, I guess the West Indian Day Parade is September. Yeah. But these are the things you have to do in this new society we live in. You know what I'm saying? Like, people can't gather to come see your show, so you got to bring the show to them. I just did a comedy show in Central Park, no microphone, just yelling in the park.
I've seen that you've actually been doing outdoor comedy shows and just getting creative with it, which I love.
Yeah. But the difference is, look, this is what Puerto Ricans do.
Yeah.
Cipha Sounds, Bad Bunny. We have the same ideas.
Yeah.
We go out to the streets. We take the show to you. The difference is people like Bad Bunny.
I'm a fan. At least you got one fan right here.
Yeah. Always one or two people that's like, oh, Cipha, and everyone else is like, who's this guy?
But I gotta say, I give him props because he could have chose to go through Manhattan. You know what I'm saying? He could have done that, but instead he went to the people. He went to where the culture is here in New York City.
Yeah, he knows that.
Yeah,
he knows where it's at in New York. And the beautiful thing about Bad Bunny is I don't speak Spanish, right? I don't speak Spanish at all. I'm one of those fake Puerto Ricans. But his music is so good, you don't even have to understand the words to enjoy the music, right?
Yes. And
you could tell by the way he, not stage performs, but the way he performs the records when he records them. You could hear the passion and the excitement. Then when he performs it live in front of you, it's amazing. And I have no idea what he's talking about. But the smart thing about him, and you got to give him credit, if anything should go wrong, he's on a truck. Just get out of there. Just drive off.
It is the Bronx, after all. We got to keep that in mind.
No matter what, it's Corona, it's 2020. New York is safe now, gentrification.
Right.
The Bronx can still pop off, yo.
Right.
He's like, he got his man like, yo, keep it in drive. Keep your foot on the brake, but keep it in drive. And if I go like this, get out of here.
Right. I love it. I mean, but I think what you're saying is true, man. He regardless if you speak the language, he's so good at what he does. It crosses over. And I think he's such an amazing representative for Puerto Ricans everywhere, whether you speak Spanish or not. It's great to see that happening. So, I mean, talking about representation, everything, the LA Times did a study talking about just media and the portrayal of Latinos. And they were specifically talking about how immigration is even being portrayed in a different way, basically humanizing.
You're one of those types.
What's up? Hit me with it. What am I?
You speak perfect English until you say Latino.
See, I can't get mad at you because that's the joke my white friends would make, but then now you got me over here.
Hey, what's going on with my Latino San Juan?
Yeah. You know what? It might be social media culture that I'm so scared of the comments being killed in it that if I say it the wrong way, but now you just fucking ruined it for me. So I'm fucked either way now.
Well, go ahead. So yeah, we're being represented.
Yeah. So I mean, they're talking about portraying immigrants not in this negative way that we've seen being talked about as rapists or drug dealers, but actual people just trying to get a better life. And I'm curious, you as being somebody who's been a media personality for so long, what are your thoughts on the Latin representation you're seeing or lack thereof right now?
That's a tough one, you know what I'm saying? Because on some parts, it's better than it used to be. But some of it feels forced. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And like, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're working on a movie, and they want to get a Puerto Rican actress, and it was like most of the decisions are made in Hollywood. Most of the casting is done in Hollywood. Yeah. So like, for a Puerto Rican actress, it's going to be a lot of Mexicans that they get for the casting. Nothing wrong with Mexicans, but if you're trying to get an actual Puerto Rican for a Puerto Rican role, it's difficult. So because now we're just in the same boat. Like some casting director in Los Angeles is like, oh, Latinos are all the same. Right. We're not all the same. Caribbean Latinos are way different than Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? And then there's parts of South America, like Venezuela, that if you live on the coast, you're kind of Caribbean. Or if you're Panamanian, you're Caribbean. Yeah. Colombians and Ecuadorians are not the same. You can't just write the word Latino and think it's all good. Right. So that being said, that's the negative side of it. But sorry, my fans are cheering for me. That's the negative side of it. But on the other side, I'm happy to get anything you could get. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Did you see Tax Collector? Yes. I thought Shia LaBeouf did a good job, man. Yeah, I agree. People give him shit about it though. But that's what I'm saying. Like, is acting representation? Good point. Vice versa. Does every part have to be played by the person of that race? That's what acting is, you know? Right. So it gets blurry, but I will say I'm happy that there are more shows where Latinos are playing Latino. Now I don't know how to say it. Latinos are being portrayed as regular people. Yes. Not criminals, not immigrants, not gangsters. But like, what was that show with the girl? What was that show? It was a girl in Miami. Recently? Like 3 or 4 years ago. I don't know what the hell. It was supposed to be like a telenovela, but it was in English. Is the bakery one? No, but how was that one? I mean, if you're into chick flick type stuff like I am, it was cool for you. I don't know if that's your thing. There was a show, and it was about this girl, and she got pregnant, and he had a girlfriend, whatever. Anyway, the point is, we're being portrayed as regular people, and that's the right steps. No, I agree, and you're absolutely right. I mean, there is a weird line that you kind of have to walk, because actors are actors, like you said. It's like if we were talking about this, we might not have gotten some of the great roles from a Tom Hanks or a Denzel or something like that. Exactly. So it is a weird line, and also you're right when you say, Latinos. There has to be that recognition from somebody who's casting to know that we're all different. We have different cultural backgrounds, and there has to be a different understanding. Not saying one's better than the other; it's just different. And then representation is not just on the screen. Yes. Good point. There's filmmakers, writers, producers, everybody. Like we're all out here. Yes. But sometimes these white people. No offense, white people. I love you. They don't. Now they're so scared to make the wrong step that they're not making any steps. Right. They're overcompensating almost. Yeah, and it's like just talk to me as a human being. Right. If I'm not right for the role, I'm not right for it. Mm-hmm. But I just want to just talk to me like a human and not like some checklist you have to check off.
Right. No, that's a good point. So one thing I always wanted to ask you, man, I've been a fan just from the radio perspective. I mean, you were a jock and a DJ in the legendary Hot 97 for so long. I'm very famous
in New York.
Yeah. I mean, which is very true. But I remember listening to your morning show and feeling represented. You know what I'm saying? Because I always felt like in hip hop, obviously, we got the Puns, we got the Fat Joes of the world. But I also kind of felt like the Latinos, especially in the New York City area, we grew up in this gray area. You know what I'm saying? Where we're obviously, we're not black, but we grew up in the same culture. We grew up amongst black people. We grew up within black culture and, saw ourselves in it in some way. But almost we don't have a voice to a degree because you're almost, you don't know where you fit in.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up. One, my representation on Hot 97 was hip hop first. That hip hop is my true culture. Ethnically Puerto Rican.
Yep.
You want to start getting into history of how Puerto Ricans, Cubans, and Dominicans are technically black. We can have that whole talk, right? You can have the whole talk that our slave owners spoke Spanish and other slave owners spoke English, so that makes us different. We were all slaves, right? That's a whole long conversation that sometimes people get upset about, and I'm like, my grandfather, if you ever saw him, he passed away, but he was a black man. But because he was Puerto Rican, he wasn't black.
Right, exactly. It's that weird gray area.
What's the difference? Especially in New York, we all grow up together. I have jokes I do about this. In other parts of the country, Latinos and blacks are separated. Or when you watch jail movies, they're like, there's the Latin section and the black section. If I went to jail in California, I would be lost because culturally, I would probably go in the black side, but because I'm not Chicano or something, and I wouldn't be accepted. You know what I mean? So that's another form of the system putting all these boundaries on us. They don't want us to all come together. We'll be too powerful. That's how they keep us separated.
Right, absolutely. No.
You're Latino. Okay. What's her name? Lupita. She's African, but she's Colombian or whatever. Like, what's the difference?
You can't ignore the fact that slave trade went through the Caribbean, you know what I'm saying? But they don't want to teach us that. Most people don't know those facts.
And another thing is, we're talking about some deep stuff. Another thing is the slave owners in the Caribbean were like, it was way looser. You were allowed to like have a slave girlfriend and walk around with your black slave girlfriend. Like, it wasn't like in America where they kept it like separate because they had more control here. I mean, it's the Caribbean. We were having pina coladas, sugar cane. It's fun.
It's the outlet. But I mean, did you ever feel like you had to maybe compensate just a little bit harder to prove you belonged in that world, in the hip hop space?
No. There was times where I could see where someone would try to. I don't play those games though. Because all the stuff I just told you, I know the history, I have the knowledge, I can break it all down. So I'm comfortable in my skin. Now, when I was on Hot 97 morning show, it was a black, a Puerto Rican, and a Jew. That was the name of the show. And we represented all different points of view from the multicultural New York. But I never try to be extra Puerto Rican. Like my father was from Puerto Rico, but I'm a New Yorker first. So I was trying to rep for the Latinos that don't speak Spanish, are more hip hop than, salsa or whatever. I love it all. I could DJ a party and play it all, but hip hop is my heart, my blood. So that's where the realness comes from,
Yeah. No, I love that. I love to hear that perspective from you. I mean, so kind of staying on I guess the topic of race to a degree. So it's a hot topic right now, bro. It's all there is to talk about for the most part.
The only way to fix it is to talk about it.
I agree 100%, man. Having these open conversations, because this conversation we just had, it might educate somebody who didn't even know about that history, which is beautiful. Which I love. I mean, so speaking of things that need to be spoken of, so I mean, there was a young man, Keontae Ferg, that was detained in his own home this last week, and he's now suing the police department. And it was basically a woman who was his neighbor claimed that he didn't live there. He was actually like renting the house from somebody else, and they ended up detaining him. They walked inside there, detained him in his own living room.
And so he was in a house that he was renting.
Yeah.
But he was the tenant. He lived there.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess his coach, he's an athlete. So his mother used to live there. She passed away, and the coach was letting him stay there and rent the house or whatever. So neighbor across the street, a typical Karen kind of story, calls the police. They walk in his front door and they handcuff him in his own living room. So yeah.
You know what's crazy? I just moved.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an alarm system in my new house. And I turned it on by accident. Didn't realize it when I left. When I came back home, the alarm went off. I don't know how to turn it off.
Oh, man.
And I was like, if the cops come, my address on my license is not of this place. I just moved here, so there's no like pictures of me up. There's no furniture there's no furniture set up yet.
Yeah.
There's no pictures of me and my family. There's no mail. Like how I would go to jail.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, how do I say, you live here? And it's like, there's the story you're talking about is much deeper because I hate to get political, but these people, and you know who I'm talking about, you Karens.
Yep, Karens of the world.
They are being told, they are being shown footage and videos, and they're being scared on purpose.
Yeah.
So that there could be this divide.
Yes.
In this country. And it's like, Black people do this. Latinos do this. Even, Muslims do this.
Yeah.
When you say assalamu alaikum, it's literally peace be unto you. Where's the disconnect, yo?
Yeah.
So now they want you to live the American dream and be able to move up. But if you move up and you don't, check in.
Right.
You don't go and introduce yourself to every neighbor. You could be looked at as like, what are you doing in this neighborhood?
Yeah.
It's a sad situation. Now, I personally don't let those things bother me because if you let one bother you, then the thousands of things will bother you.
Yes.
I try to live my life where it's like, this person's ignorant. I feel bad for them and keep moving with my life.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good perspective. And it's tough. It's exhausting a lot of times. And I think to your point as well, not only are they being fed this fear, they're also being empowered, and the people that are doing these dumb things like calling the police are being held up as heroes. Like when we saw in the Republican National Convention, the couple that had the guns on the lawn that were threatening protests, they were held up there as if they're some sort of American patriot heroes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's like the psychology. A lot of people aren't realizing that they're being brainwashed to think this way. It's crazy.
I feel so bad for these people because I see all the games, right? I'm literally watching the news the same way Peter Rosenberg watches wrestling. I know it's fake.
Yeah.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
I watch Fox News sometimes just to be entertained. It is entertaining.
Yeah.
But it's also like I live in New York. I have a little bit of a buffer around me. But when I go to Dave Chappelle's house, not to name drop.
Nice little name drop. I like
Jay-Z told me never to name drop. When I go out to Dave Chappelle's house in Ohio, I went into a Target the other day, just in the parking lot, 2 pickup trucks roll up next to me. And you know the type of people that hopped out of those pickup trucks. And it was like kind of scary.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's terrible that we have to feel that way. And I mean, again, it's just, I guess, hopefully these conversations begin to lead other places, And I mean, I loved also the power of the internet, though, that at the very least, these people are being exposed for who they are.
Here's the problem, though.
Okay.
The internet.
Yes.
We think the internet is very powerful and great. The algorithms mess everything up because you're only seeing what you like and what you want to see.
Yes.
The other side is only seeing what they like and they want. You could watch the same video, but the caption will be like, look at these racist people pulling their guns out.
Yeah.
And on the other side, they'll say, look at these true Americans keeping their homes safe. Same video.
Right. That's true.
So that's what I just get worried about. Like, I wish it was just more. I like to watch the other side. That's why I watch like Fox News and follow some weird stuff just to see what they're talking about. But
of course,
everything is pushed so to each side. You only want to see what you think is right, and it's not good.
I saw on your Instagram, speaking of socials, you do have an unhealthy obsession with Karens. What is it about the Karens?
Okay. It's a joke, and I do it in my stand-up, but it's also not a joke. There's something about the aggression, the hate. Like I want to slam the hate out of them. You know what I'm saying? I feel I've been searching the porn sites for the Karen categories, but they don't have it yet.
No,
you're not like specific Karen categories.
That might be your calling though. Like maybe like add that slash to your resume. You know what I'm saying? Like also produces Karen porn. You know what I'm saying?
I've been searching KAREN, KARYNCAR. Nothing comes up yet.
Pornhub has to step up, bro.
Now the Karen videos have gotten a little fake now. I don't like them now. Because like there's these women that are like, I'm gonna go into this bank with no mask. Watch what happens. Like now they're just faking it.
Right.
And there's also like hood dudes that are like, oh, she's a Karen, and she's like, I'm just trying to get out of this parking spot. Right. So now everyone's shooting videos.
Right.
But the original Karen videos, like, because you know what's funny? Like I learned this. People think conservatives, Republicans are the racists, and liberal Democrats are the saviors. The craziest thing to me is seeing a liberal racist. Like, what side are you on, yo? Like, you're liberal, but you don't like black people. Like, I'm gone. And then another thing is like a lot of black people are conservative, and a lot of Latinos are conservative.
Yes.
Like culturally, religiously, the way they grow up, but they can't be on the Republican side. There's no way. Like Republicans hate you,
right?
Even though I agree with this, and like I agree with your abortion views and different views, money, taxes, but I can't vote for you. It's we live in a crazy time, bro.
Bro, it's wild, and I definitely I don't know where you would fall in that type of line, like where you have these conservative views but they still don't like you. You know what I'm saying? So like it's like
I don't get it. You ever watch Trump rallies? If you watch Trump rallies, almost every time, if you're looking at the screen, over the right shoulder is always one or two black people.
Yeah,
always right here. Like it's crazy. You don't see that every single time you watch a Trump rally, that there's one or two black people right here. That you think that's a coincidence?
No, people are like being willfully ignorant. Like, look at see these black people support Trump. I'm not racist because
and
black person is supporting him.
Right here, like,
right? Yeah, always right there, the best seat in the house.
And then here's another thing. I hate to shock your people, your listeners, your viewers. When Joe Biden, if he gets elected, racism is not going to go away. They're like, vote for Joe Biden. Why? What's good? I mean, yes, do it. But that is not going to fix the problem.
Right.
It's going to be scary, man.
No, it's going to be very scary. And you're right. I mean, obviously, we need to get this idiot out of the White House. But that's really only just going to solve maybe some of the chaos that we're seeing right now. But obviously, there's a lot more that needs to happen, a lot more a lot more conversation that needs to happen, and a lot more us holding these people, responsible. Like now that we put them in office, we're all a lot more woke, so to speak, as far as what's going on politically. We now need to really hold these people accountable and stop just, putting them in office and expecting them to speak for us. That's the main thing. All right, bro. So where can people check you out? I know you're starting to travel a little bit now, right? With the stuff little by little.
Yes. I had COVID in March, so I'm not scared of it anymore. I also am very safe about it. Every time you go to Dave Chappelle's house, we get tested. So I've been negative every time. So that's
Name
great.
Drop once again. Nice job.
He's my friend. But I'm going to Chicago October 5th. It's a club called Zanies.
Okay.
So if anybody's in the Chicago area, call your Puerto Rican cousins that live in Humboldt Park in the Puerto Rican section of Chicago.
Yeah.
Just follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. And I got a lot of things going on if you want to come see shows on the sidewalk before it gets too cold. But yeah, Instagram at Cipha Sounds. And I love to hear from the people, talk to the people. I'm not dead. I left Hot 97, but I'm still flourishing. So holla at your boy.
I love it, my dude. Well, listen, bro, I appreciate you once again. Hopefully when this whole thing's over, man, I can come catch you in person.
Yeah, thanks, bro.
All right, my dude. Take care. All right, be safe. Once again, thank you so much to our guest this week, Cipha Sounds, for joining me. Make sure you go follow him on social media. The guy's involved in 1,000,001 different things, so he's definitely worth the follow. And before I get out of here, I do want to make sure that I give a big salute to a hero from our community. So obviously, it is Hispanic Heritage Month, so I want to make sure I celebrate somebody who's doing incredible things and out there just representing for Latinos everywhere. This week, I wanted to celebrate Sonia Sotomayor, who is an associate justice on the Supreme Court of the United States. She's actually the first ever Latina member of the court, and she's known for pushing reform of criminal justice and also known for taking a very strong stance on issues involving race, gender, and ethnic identity. And I think it's very obvious in all that we've seen, especially over the last few months, but that has been going on for decades now, how important it is to have people like this in positions of power. Somebody who is from the community, of the community, and really understands the things that our people go through, that people of color go through. And it's important that, we prop these people up as examples and as heroes and as people that, the youth should be looking up to hopefully continue this tradition of getting more people that look like us and are from our communities and that represent our needs, and to be out there in positions of power to hopefully be more of the change that we not only want to see, but need to see. So we salute her, a modern day hero, Sonia Sotomayor. Thank you for all your work and just the beautiful path that you've been blazing for Latinos everywhere and just being a true hero in our community. With that said, that's it for me. Make sure you tune in every Monday through Thursday on our IG Live. Our girl B. Marie, she will be bringing you LATV mornings, so she'll give you the biggest headlines from each day. And then, of course, every Saturday, myself, Dramos, I'll be here to recap it all with you. Until then, I'll catch you next time. Bye.